All right, so we can go ahead and pick back up. Next, we're going to be hearing from Christina Newhouse. And Christina, you can go ahead and share your screen whenever you're ready. Christina works with the Appalachian Resource Conservation and Development Council Fire Adapted Communities Coalition. She's going to be talking to us about some of their outreach work that they've been doing in the western part of our state.
All right, so everybody can see my screen, I'm assuming it says so. Yep. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that quick tutorial the other day, Laurel. That was very helpful. Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Christina Newhouse. I'm the Firewise Program Manager for Carolina Land and Lakes RC&D. I'm here representing today the RC&D Appalachian Fat Coalition, and I am trying to go forward on my slides, Laurel, and it's not happening.
It's a little bit delayed, so you have to give a sec.
There we go. There we go. All right, everything's a learning curve. So we're the Southern Appalachian RC&D Fire Adapted Communities Coalition, and RC&D stands for Resource Conservation and Development Council. It started off or was anchored by the Chestatee Chattahoochee RC&D out of northern Georgia by Frank O'Reilly. He was able to first secure a contract with U.S. Forest Service to promote the Firewise program, and then working along the other boundaries of Western North Carolina and into Virginia, created a coalition with Carolina Land and Lakes RC&D, Mountain Valleys RC&D, Blue Ridge RC&D, and Southwestern North Carolina Resource and Conservation Development Council, as well as the New River Highlands RC&D Council up there in Virginia. So we're funded by the U.S. Forest Service for our Firewise program, and then we partner here in the western part of the state with the North Carolina Forest Service, and the other two RC&Ds work with their own state Forest Service. So one of the great things that's just happened to us very recently is that we were able to get the Firewise work extended for another 2 more years. So I wanted to really thank Frank for his hard work on that and relationship with the U.S. Forest Service to allow us to continue to do this work. In the last couple of years, we've really started to make some headway with the Firewise program in Western North Carolina, and we are excited that we can continue to do so. So our goal is to address high-risk private lands, and I need to move this out of the way, along the U.S. Forest Service boundaries, and encourage communities to become official Firewise communities as well as maintain their status. We also look to educate individual residents on mitigation measures that can help in reducing their risk of structure loss in the event of a wildfire. We participate in community outreach events and fairs to spread the word about Firewise. And then we also collaborate with partners and small business owners to support our outreach. And additionally, we've expanded our Firewise efforts to incorporate other partners, state and federal, to hold mitigation and prescribed burn demos to remove hazardous fuels and improve community awareness. So in the very far west here, we are working with Blue Ridge RC&D, Southwestern RC&D, and Carolina Land and Lakes and Mountain Valleys RC&D. So here you can see where our territory lies. We have quite a bit of forested acreage here, so that the work that we do is actually really important in terms of outreach and community awareness. So starting off with the Blue Ridge RC&D and some of the events that they've held or functions that they've done over the last 12 months, they had a Good Fire in the Mountains, which was a prescribed fire education day and demonstration. Here they partnered with Wildlife Commission, the Nature Conservancy, NC State, North Carolina Forest Service, as well as the U.S. Forest Service and some other partners to hold a prescribed demo and education day where they actually got fire on the ground and created community awareness so that communities surrounding this state park area would know what prescribed fire is and how it benefits the region. Another event that Jonathan has been working on is this homeowner mitigation video that he's been working with Justin Query from the North Carolina Forest Service on. It's still in production, but essentially what they're doing is going around and doing a home assessment around this location and talking about some of the home hardening techniques that can be utilized and creating defensible space in the area. Jonathan's area over in Blue Ridge RC&D, he has 3 Firewise communities, Buck Mountain, Rich Mountain Acres, and Stonebridge. And so with the Firewise program, we work with assisting these communities in their mitigation work, as well as helping them with mitigation grants. And then working with the North Carolina Forest Service County Rangers to give that community outreach support and mitigation work support, as well as working with other high-risk communities along the escarpment to implement the FAC and Firewise USA objectives. Some of the things that Blue Ridge RC&D also does is they go ahead and create flyers or informational documents that they can provide as support to their Firewise communities to keep them actively participating and contributing to their volunteer hours throughout the year. Some of the other work that Jonathan has been doing in that area is working with numerous partners to adapt the fireworks program, which you can go ahead. There's a link here to my presentation, which I'm sure you guys will all have access to, and to really promote it and bring it to the Southern Appalachian region. He also works with the Woodlands Restoration Project, which is Tim Sweeney's land management group for prescribed efforts, as well as co-leading the SBLFLN High Country Landscape with Adam Warwick, and then he also provides support to the TNC Burning Crew. So Mountain Valleys is another RC&D, what's in our coalition here. And they have a really neat project that's going on right now that was funded through COCO, which is the Coalitions and Collaboratives group out of Colorado. And it's an AIM grant, which is the Action, Implementation, and Mitigation grant. And what they've done is they've created this Mcdowell Community Wildfire Network Wildfire Mitigation Tool Cachet. Essentially, it's the idea of taking FAC, a fire adapted community, and more or less making it into a fire adapted county. By using the ArcGIS dashboard and Survey 1, 2, and 3, they're looking at increasing and tracking mitigation in the region. This tool cache is for the community free of charge, including rakes, wheelbarrows, leaf blowers, gutter attachments, and other tools to actually get mitigation work on the ground. They're hoping that this is something that can be modeled and used in other counties in Western North Carolina or throughout the entire country, essentially. This was a great partnership and is continued partnership with the Nature Conservancy, the City of Marion, Mcdowell County, North Carolina, and U.S. Forest Service, as well as the Marion Fire Department, who was really eager to help get this mitigation on the ground right off the get-go and help drive this along with the U.S. Forest Service, and Mountain Valleys RC&D, who is administratively managing this program, and the tool cache. So this is really exciting, and it's starting to really make some headway in the region. Here's a list of the Firewise certified communities that are in the Mountain Valleys area, RC&D area. They also send out different types of informational documents that can go out to their Firewise communities to encourage and promote them to continue with mitigation efforts and wildfire safety around their homes. And so here's an example of a fall leaf litter pamphlet that went out that was kind of an instructional how-to their Firewise communities. This is a new Firewise community that was just recently approved. And this is Montreat, which is in Buncombe County. There are 620 homes that are in this area. It's a secluded mountain cove community that's heavily forested. So this has been a real success in terms of the amount of community support and drive to become a Firewise community. They've also been actively participating in a virtual meeting as the virus hit and became predominant and we started to have restrictions. Montreat was able to continue to move forward and get their Firewise certification and participate in virtual conferences. So not only are they adapting to fire, but they're also adapting to current conditions to continue to move forward in their conservation efforts. This is another project that Mountain Valleys is working on with Jen Haas in the North Carolina Forest Service. So they're working with the Madison County, North Carolina Forest Service to create updated flyers on flammable invasives, particularly the Chinese silvergrass. And it's becoming more of a concern in their area. So their focus is on removal, prevention, and control. So Carolina Land and Lakes has held several events over the last year. So I'm just going to focus on the ones that started in November. We held an event in conjunction with multiple partners, including state parks, Extension, U.S. Forest Service, North Carolina Forest Service, the Turkey Federation, as well as other partners. At Lake Norman State Park, it was an event called Smoke on the Water. It started off essentially trying to create community outreach to the surrounding communities around Lake Norman, as well as do a prescribed burn demo. It ended up being a really interesting event because we ended up having an entire troop of Boy Scouts that were at the park that weekend and attended the event. And so we had to change directions a little bit for more adult residents to bring it down to cater to the needs of the Boy Scouts. But in a way, it really started planting the seeds, and it ended up being a really great active event. We have multiple pictures here that you can see. We also were not able necessarily to get a whole lot of fire on that ground that day because of the weather conditions. But there's some pictures here where you can see that they were able to do the prescribed burn about a month and a half later very successfully over at Lake Norman State Park. Another part of the event that happened over at Lake Norman State Park is there was a video created on shortleaf pine and prescribed fire that was narrated by Sharon Bischoff, the mountain region biologist from NC State Parks. And this was done in partnership with Laurel Kays and Jen Fawcett at NC State. We were able to get funded through an RREA grant to create this video. And here's the link on YouTube if anybody wants to access it. It's really phenomenal. And then we went and had an event over at Powell Mountain Estates with multiple partners, and the Nature Conservancy burn crew and Adam Morwick came out and actually did a mitigation demo, creating defensible space around a community, and worked with the community leaders to work in conjunction with that project. So as TNC was actually doing the demonstration and creating the defensible space around 2 homes, the community was actively participating by chipping and being part of the home assessment process that was going on with Just Inquiry. So here's a list of the Firewise communities that we have over in Carolina Land and Lakes territory. And then we have a very active community called Anchors and Landing, and they were just awarded the Wildfire Community Preparedness Day $500 award. And they've also been participating in the North Carolina Fuels Removal Program, which has really gotten off the ground in the last year by Just Inquiry, where they received $5,000 in cost share and removed 1,300 cubic yards of debris from their community. And then real briefly, wanted to talk about some upcoming projects that we with Carolina Land and Lakes. So we're working with the U.S. Forest Service on an all land strategy working group to implement 6 priority areas in the Pisgah and Nantahala Forest. Basically, the focus is on shared stewardship and working with private landowners and other state and federal stakeholders in the region to actually quantify the work that's being done on the ground and to work with each other to get more work done on the ground, as well as private, and expand that work onto private lands. I'm running out of time, so I'm buzzing through all of this. Lover's Branch is another project that we're just now getting started, technically like next week, where we're going to be targeting a community that borders the U.S. Forest Service lands to address those 6 priority areas that were in the previous slide, or eco zones, and move that mitigation work and conservation work onto private lands with the help of the U.S. Forest Service, the North Carolina Forest Service, and other nonprofits in the region. And then Southwestern North Carolina Resource Conservation Development Council held a Wildfire Community Preparedness Day. They had over 200 people who attended, and they worked with NC State as well as their local extension, Cherokee County Cooperative Extension, and let everybody know about what wildfire community preparedness is, explored what the Firewise program was and how they could get involved. There was a lot of real active participation from the local fire departments for this event, which was great. And then here's a list of communities that are Firewise communities in Southwestern RC&D territory. All right, you guys. Well, I think I fit it all in 15 minutes.
Great job, Christina.